Hi guys. I don't know if anyone's here yet. I'll wait a few minutes. I think I'm like 2 minutes early. I'm laughing because when you go live and you start putting in all your information, it says say cheese for the thumbnail. And I'm scratching my head and I'm like, anyway, orientation is locked. Rotate. Okay. So it wants me to be like this. I don't know if I'll see your chats like that, but we'll see. We'll see when someone comes on. Share. I guess it lets me share. Hey, I'm back. Hi. Okay, I saw one comment. Good. So I can see your comments. Everything's good. How's it going with you? Now I gotta put this thing over here like this. I'm working with my let's just talk a little bit before I start. So, how are you all doing? I see 7 people. So, today, I'm going to show you how I actually rotate this wall and how I sift out the breeders and how I get their cocoons and, put them back on the top. I did put colors on this wall, as you can see, because it's just easier for me to explain. And I think it's easier for people to understand because there's a lot of people out here that are like myself. We're visual learners. Like, I'll learn better if you show me than just explain and then I have to like figure it out up here. So, but if you show me, then it's better for me. So I decided to divide it into 3 colors, and that way it'll be easier. And I don't know if Pachamama Worms. Hey, I say your name right now. I don't know if Pachamama Worms is watching, but I told him that I would explain this, and he's interested in learning to do this wall because I know that he has one. He has a lot more bins than I do, but sorry, I did drink of water. I talk a lot. In order for something like this to work, you need to be organized, and you kind of need to know what you're doing. I will say something like this is not for amateurs, but you got to start somewhere, right? I mean, I was an extremely beginner amateur when I started, and I figured things out along the way by trial and error because a lot of people wouldn't give me information. So I had to figure it out on my own. And even though I've been doing this since 2002, hi Tammy, good morning. I myself have unfortunately killed a lot of worms trying to figure it out. And, hi, Pachamama, there he is. Hello from Texas. All right. I used to live in Texas, in Cypress, which is about northwest of Houston. Very nice, very hot. Oh my gosh, the heat was unbearable. But I killed a lot of worms just by trying to figure it out. Like, I either killed them by overfeeding or too high of an acidity in the bin. But I will tell you the number one thing that will kill your worms 100% is lack of moisture. They'll survive okay for a while on bedding, or even if you cover your bin with newspaper or manure you put in there or the food scraps. But if that bin dries out, they're done. And I made that mistake quite a few times. Hello. So Pachamama, I wanted to, remember I told you we'd talk about the rotating wall. I put everything in colors so that you can see, so it's easier for me to explain. And I'm going to turn the camera around, or I'll, turn it so I can explain better. I just wanted to say hi to everyone before I start. You see, I color coordinated everything. And I'm going to explain to you how I do this, because when I first started worm farming, like for business, I reached out to a lot of people and no one would really give me straight answers or help me. They just wouldn't. So, and that's okay. I figured it out on my own. But I always told Joe, the minute I figure it out, I'm gonna tell people. I'm just gonna. That's how I am. And I know you all know that. But you like my cup? I know I like creepy things. I can't help it. Plus, orange is my favorite color. But I drink water because I talk a lot. So we're going to get started on this. I was watching a Bigfoot documentary, of course. And we're going to get started on this. So take notes, get your papers out, your pens. I do this once a week. I rotate the breeder bins every 21 days. And I divide all my breeder bins by 3. So let me take you over here so you can see. I swear I hate this tripod with everything in me. And I have so many tripods, I still can't find one 100% that satisfies me. They just don't make them like they used to. So anyway, okay, this. You see, I labeled everything here. We got breeders. We got breeders with the arrow pointing down. And these are all red wigglers. There are no blue worms, no euros, nothing else in here. So I have 9 breeders here. And then up here, I have 9 cocoons. So every 21 days, like last Sunday, I harvested all of these. And I took the cocoons from each bin and I put it up here. So the cocoon from this one went here. The cocoon from this one went here. If I run out of room, I will try to double up the cocoons. But the thing is, if you know anything about castings and worm breeding, these bins, they get very heavy. And these, my favorite bin to use is a 20 by 15 by 5, which I have over here. Because they're just easier to carry. So for breeding worms, you only need about 3 inches of bedding. Trust me. Any more than that, it's unnecessary. It gets very heavy. You're going to break your back. They don't need anything more because, think about it, they're not going to be in there long term. They're just going to be in there for 3 weeks. So this is how this wall works. Now, I can do the entire wall here, breeders. I could do the whole thing, breeders. But every Sunday, I'll have to harvest all of them. And, right now, I just don't have the strength to do that. My joints hurt sometimes ever since COVID. I got problems with my hands. Sometimes they work. My thumbs here, sometimes they don't. I've had nerve damage here for a long time. But they're getting better. And I don't let things like that get me down. I'm all about try to be positive thinking and just being a good person and being honest. And I know you all know that about me. I just can't have it any other way. So since I did these, I'm going to show you the dates. Let me get you off this thing. Oh, Danielle French, good morning from Texas. We love you. That's my daughter-in-law and my grandchildren. Hi, babies. Grandma's going to see you soon. All right, guys. So you see this? This is the date that I harvested the breeders, which was April 23rd. And the cocoons went up there on the 21st. Wait a minute. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I harvested these the 23rd, and then I'm gonna harvest them again on the 21st. So these cocoons should start hatching by May 14 to May 21st. So when it's time to rotate these again, when it's time to harvest these breeders again, these cocoons should be hatching. And then they take time to grow up. They take about 2 to 3 months, sometimes sooner, sometimes faster. I don't know. If I were to do this entire wall of breeders, I would put the cocoons on this entire wall here. And this wall is divided into three. 1, 2, and 3. And my breeders here are divided into 3. 1, 2, and 3. So this is how this rotation works. You can rotate 50 bins, 100 bins. It's up to you what your capacity is, what your strength is. If you have people working for you, this will be like fast, fast, fast. But I do this by myself. My poor husband, he works his butt off in his job. I also have a job outside the house, but he's a lot of the behind the scenes guy. He'll build me things. He built me these shelves. I wanted them painted. He painted them for me. He helps me carry all these supplies up here because they get heavy, and Pachamama worms could tell you, when worm castings get wet, they are so heavy. So anyway, I hope you understand that. You can always ask questions if I don't see anything. Hi from Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania. We go to the Poconos often. If you ask a question and I don't see it, later I'll see it because I go through all the questions again and then I'll respond to you. By the way, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and do so if you want to keep up with this and just support my channel and find my other channel, the Composting Worm Lady. I want to hit 1,000 on there before Christmas because any income that comes through YouTube supports this entire thing. It just is. Financially, right now, I'm breaking even. I'm not in debt, but yet I'm not really making any money yet. So, but that takes time. It takes 2 to 4 years to build a business up. And especially if you don't want to take out business loans or anything like that, which I am not ever going to. I'm just not. I know people that have, and they're under a lot of pressure and stress to just pay it all back, and I'm not going to do that. So anyway, this is what we're doing. So I'm going to harvest these breeders 2 ways so that you could see both my machines. Why do I recommend 100 worms versus 1,000? Okay, let me tell you one thing that is, well, I'm not going to say it's a secret, but it's known. People recommend 1,000 because they want to sell you more worms. That's just a fact. You don't need 1,000 worms to start a bin. You really don't. The most I would ever, and I'm talking maximum, is half a pound. 1,000 worms is a pound. And these are all approximate numbers because it all depends how big your worms are. Mine are a little on the chunky side, so there's less of them that fit in let's say, a cup if I were to measure. The reason you start with 100 worms or a quarter cup, which can be about 250, is because when worms have more room, they reproduce more and faster. Worms are known to self-regulate their population. So if they're crowded, they're not gonna populate anything for you. They're not gonna breed. As a matter of fact, some of them might die off because their purpose is survival. And that's just how it is. Hey, hi, I'm glad you made it. So that's a question that I get a lot, and this is my honest answer. And this is what I've learned through the years. A lot of things out there are marketing, and that's just how it is. But I decide to do it my way. And some people like it, some people don't. I can't help it. I'm always gonna try to be, honest 100% because, the way I think of it is I just lay my head on that pillow better at night knowing I did the right thing. I've always done that, even with every job I've ever worked. And sometimes it just hasn't worked out for me because of that. And, but honesty is my best policy. So I can't help it. But that's how it is. Especially European night crawlers, you should never put more than 150 European night crawlers in one of these bins. They're just gonna overpopulate themselves. You know how I've also raised African night crawlers? The best way to do it that I've done it is in a bucket, like one of those Home Depot buckets, and you never put more than 50 adult African night crawlers in a bucket. They're just not going to do anything for you if you put more than that. They're going to get crowded, and it's going to be a lot of elbow room fussing in there, and then that'll be the end of it. So, but it's something that you got to learn by experience, by working at. You know, these are my breeders. I don't mess with them when I set them to breed because I feel that it disturbs them, because I have messed with them and I have seen some of them attached, and then they disattach, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry to have disturbed you." But that's just how it is. Now, my pet worms, which you'll see on my other channel, the composting worm lady, I mess with them every day. I fluff them up, I play with them, I feed them, I mess with them every day. And they breed for me, but not like these guys. But also they're there to compost all my food, so who cares? But I used to mess with my breeders a lot because I was wanted to see what they were doing. It was just pure curiosity, and I noticed that my numbers were lower. Another thing I can tell you is not really. I don't replace the breeders for younger worms. I mean, sometimes you have to. It depends. I don't remember what the number is that they said that the breeders will only last so long. But, you can, but I haven't. But once in a while, babies will sneak in there. They'll cocoon will hatch in there, or you're not ever gonna get every baby or every cocoon 100%. You're just not. And sometimes they'll carry into the breeder bin, and then before you know it, you see a little one, and you're like, well, where'd that one come from? And that's and that's how it just happens. The best advice I can give you with worm farming is not to overthink it, guys. Don't overthink it. It's not about perfection because it will never ever be perfect ever. I've tried, trust me. And no, it doesn't happen. So I'm going to show you two ways that I do this, and I'm going to use both my sifters just so you can choose whatever you want. Before I had Harvey, which is my what do you call that thing? The vibrating motor machine. I didn't have that thing, and I would harvest by hand. Sometimes I find harvesting by hand more therapeutical. Sometimes I just want to watch the TV and do it by hand and to just have some quiet time in here because Harvey can get loud. And sometimes, honestly, guys, I'm not in the mood for the vibration of that thing. I'm just not. And then I have the other sifter that's on little wheels that you roll back and forth. I think Pachamama has the same one. And as you know, sometimes that can be like tiring on your arms, all that, back and forth. And I do it in little shifts here and there. Like I'll do a couple, I'll take a break. I'll do a couple, I take a break. But anyway, time to drink some water. So I had a banana for a snack. And here's the peeling. And yes, I do give my breeders food scraps, especially right after harvesting, because by the time I see them again in sifting them, it's going to be 21 days and that banana will be gone. And if it's not, you just pull it out and set it aside and then put it right back in. I know that there are a lot of people out there that feed only worm chow, and that's okay if you want to, but I feel that their diet needs some kind of diversity, and I think it's better if they eat other things. So I cannot imagine eating eggs for every meal of my life, you know? So I need different things. And I think they do too. And from what I've learned through the years is giving them different things once in a while, they're just healthier. So I wanted to show you something else. So you remember last week when I went shopping and I got some supplies? I found something called corn pellets. They're made of corn and it's some kind of bedding. But corn to me is food. So I'm going to wet these while we're doing this live. And the last time I wet them, they kind of broke down. I just want to see what they do while you're here. And if we could watch this, it's kind of like a live experiment. So I'm going to wet these and I'll be right back because I don't want to take the phone off that thing again. So I just put water in them. Let's see what happens. I'll just put them down here. All right, another thing I want to show you is the bedding that I put the breeder worms back into. I pre-make it a week ahead. So last week when I harvested these guys, I pre-made the bedding that are going to go for these guys today. And I make it in a giant tub. And I cover it, I wet it, and I cover it with paper, with not saran wrap, bubble wrap. And the reason is because I wet it down and it needs to stay moist. Oh, I got someone from Canada. Hello. So I'll tell you why I pre-wet that and I make it a week ahead. My bedding has manure in it. And yes, I use black cow. There it is. So rabbit manure is a cold manure, meaning you can take it and put it right in your worm bins and it's not going to hurt your worms. What I do is I do rinse my rabbit manure because, well, they urinate and there's pee in there. So I do rinse it and then I use it. When I use something like black cow, or you can, even if you use cow manure or horse manure from a farm or whatever, I pre-compost that a week ahead, only because it just gives me peace of mind knowing to do that. I knew a worm farmer from the South. We're talking deep South, and this was like about 15 years ago. And this is how he raised his worms. He had them in these huge beds, and he would use black cow. And he would pre-harvest, pre-compost that a week ahead. And he always told me that. He said, always pre-compost your cow or horse manure, just in case it heats up, your worms aren't going to run. So it's been in here mixed with some peat moss and dolomite lime. And I put some azomite minerals in there. And I wet it down real good. And I put some pine shavings in there, but I used the pellet kind, and it seems to like they have like disintegrated in there. I love to use in the fall leaves when they're out there, because my property, I got a million leaves and they're dry. And this year I think I'm going to buy a machine to put the leaves in, and you know, we're going to do that. So, and that'll be another way to do that. I'll show you that when the time comes, because you just don't take the leaves and put them in your worm bins. You know, there's a way to do it so that you can be safe from bugs or whatever. Corn pellets, is that the coated seed? I love watching your videos. Aw, thank you. You know, I'm not sure what they are. I got them at Tractor Supply, and I guess it's corn. Oh, look, I'm going to show you the bucket. And it just comes in pellets. So look, it broke up. You know me, I gotta smell everything. It smells like cardboard. A little corn. But look, I guess it broke up. So I did this last week and I was like, huh, why did that break up? That is so weird. So what I've been doing is, since it's corn, and I do like to feed my worms wet worm chow once in a while because that's a little breeding trick. I took this, I wet it, and I fed it to them, and they went crazy. So that's another little hint for you. If you want to breed worms and you want to get them all crazy and interested in each other, what you do is you take your worm chow, and this is a little secret, okay? Well, not anymore. You take your worm chow and you wet it down till it's like a paste, and you mix in a little bit of molasses in there. And when it's a paste, you make a layer on the top, like a tunnel in the middle of your worm bin, like on the surface, only surface feeding. And then you cover it with a really wet box. And yeah, I only do that though when I breed worms for the first 5 days. After that, they just get their dry worm chow or they get their food scraps, which I do give them occasionally. But anyway, that's a little breeder trick I wanted to show you and I wanted to tell you. But the pellet corn, yeah, I like it. I like the way it breaks up really fast. So yeah, leaf mold is the best bedding you can give your worms. You know, the darkest castings I've ever had has been when I have fed leaves. It just has. Let's get Harvey over here. So this is Harvey. All right. So before I get Harvey, I'm working on the red here, on color red. So I'm going to take my first bin. I got this one. I got that one. So I'm going to take my first one here. Okay, we're going to go over here to my table. Let me find a place to put this. All right. So I took my first breeder bin, which is here. I always take the plastic and put it down here. I just look at them a minute, you know, just have to look and just see what's going on. Everything's good. They look good. They're doing good. Then I take my empty cocoon bin, which is waiting for me, and I go to Harvey. Now, Harvey is my harvester. Harvey is very loud. So if you don't like loud noises, cover your ears, step away. I don't know what you got to do. When I film Harvey, I try to lower the volume on my button thing so that people aren't like, ah, you know. I like to reuse things sometimes. Like I eat a lot of yogurt and I reuse these things. I always have one handy. It's good to just have these things around because you never know if you're going to need one. So they look good. So I'm going to do a couple of bins and just see. And I'll do it both ways just so you can see. Look at that little cocoon. A worm cocoon is, but they also vary in size. I've noticed that the African nightcrawler cocoons are just different than the red wiggler ones. And I have also seen some red wiggler ones that are big. Like this one, for example. I think this one's a little bigger than the others for some reason. You know, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, they're happy and fluffy. Yes, I know. I seek to find. I thought you'd be proud that I labeled everything and color coordinated. Well, it's the only way that I could really explain this because, you know, people told me, and I'm like, no, I got to see it. I got to see it. So let's get this on. Okay, so guys, I'm going to turn this on. I can't see any comments or hear anything. Here I got 1/4 inch. it because I just want to show you. So here are the breeders, right? Any big bedding that's left behind, I just leave it. If I were to hand sift this, I'd get more of that. But sometimes you can't hand sift 9, you know, it's like too much. So these are the breeders. And then down here, I have the 1/8. The cocoons fall in here with any bedding that might be, you know, a little bigger. See, I see cocoons everywhere. Some are orange color, some are yellow. And then down here, I get the castings. And cocoons do occasionally fall here. Like I see a few here, especially when they're little. They just go through the 1/8. I don't know why. They just do. So I do see cocoons here. So right now, since I'm not selling this, I just put this in with the other cocoons. Like this. There you go. And it's a process. I don't normally stop with one little scoop like that, but I just wanted to show you. Now that's Harvey. See, look. These are the cocoons. You could see it's loaded. I wish you could see up close. I know you can't. So now what I would do is, oh, thank you. Thank you for supporting my channel. I love it. Thank you so much. I just got a super chat. Yay, from Bearded Flannel Man. Thank you. So I take the cocoons and I come over here when I have it filled up, obviously. This is just for demonstration purposes. And then I'll take the breeders and I'll put them here. And the cycle rotates. It's like this, like this. And I do this every Sunday. Then I'll label it over there. I'll label it what day the cocoons should hatch. And I'll label it when I did them and when to harvest again. Now you could label it whatever date you want. You could do this whatever week you want. I mean, Sunday's just an easier day for me because of my daytime job. You know, this could be your Saturday thing. And if you can't do it the day you planned, it's okay to wait a few days or go a few days early. You know, I try to religiously do it on the 21 day, but sometimes I just can't. You know, I got a family, I got events, I got things to do, to go to, you know, birthdays and blah, blah. So sometimes I just can't. I can't remember. It's not about overthinking or perfection. It's about just getting it done. And this will be the next one. So I can also go this way, that way, you know. Sometimes I get so distracted watching Bigfoot up there that I forget which one I did. So that's why I do them individually, so that I don't forget, because I've done that. And you probably will too. And it's okay. It's okay. So now I'm going to bring out my other sifter and I'm going to demonstrate that, because like I said earlier, not everyone has a Harvey. You know, we didn't buy a plan to build Harvey. Harvey just came out of my brain and my husband's brain, and we worked together and we troubleshooted to build it. And we had, like, you know, this piece of wood laying around, and then we bought some, and then these bins we got at I think they were I think these were from Sam's Club. And the little one, the smaller ones that I use are 20 by 15 by 5. That's in, you could get those in a website called Webstaurant. They were cheaper because I got them for, like, I think it was, I don't know if it was $1.99 each or $2.99 each, but you had to buy a certain amount to get the discount. And of course I paid shipping. But, you know, for the amount of bins I was doing, it was worth it to me. And I know other people have bought also. you know, the same things. So I'm going to bring up my other sifter, and then I'm going to do another. I'll continue this bin so you could see. And then we'll do some hand sifting so you could see that. Because it's good to learn 3 different ways of harvesting, but then you can implement it to whatever your best lifestyle is. So after COVID, and I got very sick, and I almost died. It was horrible. But the nerves in my hands were just, my thumbs didn't work right. I couldn't get them to move. I couldn't pick up flat things, and I still struggle a little bit with that. But there's a lady named Cheryl, and she donated this rotating sifter to me. And that was the only way I was able to harvest my worms. So I am eternally grateful to her. She just sent me this giant thing, and I didn't have to pay for it or anything. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's still good people out in this world. So anyway, I always thought I'm going to pay back by teaching. And that's just what I do. So, what Bigfoot videos do you? Oh my gosh, I'm on YouTube. I watch all of them. I have seen every one, the California ones. I go Bigfoot hunting here in Indiana once or twice a year. I do. I've heard things I haven't seen, but I've heard. But I can't wait to see something. I hope I do. Bigfoot has always been I'm just going to put these back for now. I've always been interested in Bigfoot since I was like a child. I was like 7 years old, wanting Bigfoot, wanting every book, So I just always have, and I don't know, it's something that it'll always be with me, I guess. All right, so let's bring you in closer. Here, my banana peel. I'm going to put it in the cocoon bin for now. All right, let me get my sifter. And yes, I have had a table in here. I've had every size table in here. They annoy me. I just can't, it's like, I don't know. They get in the way. I've had 4-foot ones, little ones. I've had giant ones, they just get in my way. Let me get my sifter thing. So this is the one with wheels. Pachamama, you have one of these, don't you? Or something similar? Right? Bearded flannel man. Why do you have a sad face? Why are you sad? All right. Let me just put this up here so you can see. Now you can do this on any other type of whatever. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read your question. Well, I will say, I did thank you for the super chat. I said thank you. Oh, your question. Okay. Can you do an experiment? Try taking a shallow dish of water and put some sifted castings in it with cocoons and see if they float or sink. That's a good idea. I've never thought of that. You want to know something, bearded flannel man? I've only had one other person give me a super chat, and I didn't know that it came with a question. So you're my first. So thank you. Has anyone put cocoons in water to see if they float? I don't know. I guess we'd have to try that. Yeah. I hope I brought a smile to your face again. So I'm going to turn this around. I think it'll fit better if I go like this. The troubleshooting of worm farming. No, it works better the other way. You see, I had another tub that I was using for this, but I'm using it for something else. So we're just going to make do here. I don't want to have to buy another one. Believe it or not, I'm not a huge shopper. I don't. I stay out of stores as much as I can. I don't know why. That's just how I am. Sometimes, though, guys, I do like to weigh my worms. So I do have a scale here. I just like to see if they grow in size and weight, only because the wetter you keep your worm bin, the heavier the worms get. Very true. That is very true. So I'm going to keep the scale here. We're just going to sift some of these, and then I'll do some hand sifting for you. And then you have to pick what you like, you know. Sometimes I use one of these. Sometimes I don't. Depends, you know. So what's good about this is this is a 1/4 inch. I also have it in 1/8 for the cocoons. So you see the breeders stay here. And the cocoons and babies go down there. So then I'll take this and I'll put it in one of my breeder bins. And I'll take this down here and I'll put it in the cocoon bins. And sometimes if I don't get to this with the 21-day mark and I'm a little late, yes, there are babies that hatch. And it happens. Like, look, right now, I got one here. That's a teeny baby red wiggler. Oh my gosh, isn't that the cutest thing you've ever seen? I'm a sucker for baby things. I don't know. I just love them. But sometimes, you know, that happens. And if I see that I have a lot of little babies, I won't use this or I won't use Harvey. I do it by hand because I want to just be as gentle as I can with them because, well, they're a living creature, you know, and you should be gentle with them because they work hard for me and I appreciate them. See, look, see that cocoon, the color? That one's about to hatch because it's like when they're going to hatch, they turn that orange color. And when they're just laid, they're like a yellow lemony color. And sometimes worms do fall through here. I pick them up and I throw them back in or I leave them. I have left them there, you know. So years ago, when I first started this, I used to struggle to get every single worm. I mean, and I drove myself crazy because there was just no doing that. So I just decided one day I just can't. I can't get every single one. I just can't. I'll go nuts. So that's what I did. I just, if one got left behind and went in there, oh well, it was fine. So I'm going to take them and put them over here. I know someone else that spends hours getting them. And I don't know if he's watching me right now. I know who you are. He'll tell you too. Damien, are you there? Damien has been supporting my business, my worms, you know, for like a year now or more. I told him, stop getting every single one. You can't do it. Oh my gosh, a baby Bigfoot. Can you imagine? I'd want to adopt it. I'd be like, look what I came home with. Yeah, there's well, they say that they've seen juveniles, so I would love to see one. I don't care the age, size. See, I left them sitting here too long. And some of them decided to go down. I wish this would be a bigger screen. Oh, there we go. Maybe you'll see better that way. So let's try again. Yeah, they're a nice size, these worms. So when I sell 100 worms at a time, which I have them now for sale on my website, I go through a bin like that and I pick out the biggest ones I find. See, look, I'm finding little ones. I count out. I'll take worms like this and I'll go through it and I'll start counting out 100 worms. I never send 100 alone. I always send a few more. 110, 120, it depends. You know, sometimes I have several orders to fill and sometimes I get a little tired, but I do. And that's how I sell 100 worms at a time. You know, and I know other people that do it too. And a lot of people tell me that I should raise the price on my 100 worms because they're pure. But I don't want to right now, actually. I just want to make it fair compared to market price. I know other people that sell them, other worm farmers that sell them for the same thing. Like, I think I have mine for $26.99. I think others sell it for the same thing. I don't want to go higher, even though my product is superior. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm the best or anything. No, I know what I raise. And it took me years to get them to this stage, guys. I had blue worms in the past. I did. But I had to do what Pachamama is doing or did or has done. I had to start from scratch. I had to get rid of all of them, source a pure stock, or what I also did was I took some of my worms, and since I know what they look like, I started picking out the red wigglers. And guys, it took forever. It just took me years to do. And I finally got it down. So, yeah, mine are pure. Now, blue worms are, there's a lot of controversy with them. I think they're great for composting. They're awesome composting worms. But man, their behavior's kind of like, they're a little off. Like, you never know what they're going to do. Aw, I know you love your blues. And I've had them. And I've had some people ask me if I would raise only blues. And if I was able to have something separate and do only blues, not red wigglers mixed with blues, just blues, I would. But I'd have to take a lot of precautions to do that, only because I'm afraid I'd lose them. When they hear water, they like to run. They're also extremely active. They wiggle a lot. They go like that a lot. They look like they have like electricity running through them. I don't know. They're just their behavior, I've seen them go from bin to bin. Can they compost everything for you? You bet they can. But you have to know how to deal with them. I know a lady that raised them and all her bins were covered with a hole on top with a mesh, and the mesh had tape all around it because they were known for just taking a run. So anyway, I don't sell any sifting reds right now. Oh, are you doing it right now as we speak, Tammy? What creeps you out, Pachamama? The blue worms? Is it their behavior? They're crazy. You know what worm freaks me out? I have two worms that freak me out. Uncle Jim started with a 1/4 pound in January. Well, good. Keep an eye on them. Treat them like any other worm, but just keep an extra eye on them. Have you seen the Alabama jumpers? They're called crazy worms. I have found them in my garden. They freak me out. They're not only meaty looking, which is okay because I'm used to the African night crawlers. But when you drop them, first of all, they shake like a blue worm. They shake like crazy. But when you drop them, they slither away like snakes. Oh my gosh, that just gets me. That's it. I can't handle that. They don't breed as quickly. Yes, that's true. Plus, a blue worm won't breed with a red wiggler and get you fertile eggs. They just won't. It'll be a major problem. So that's why a lot of people who try to breed worms and they got blue worms mixed in, they wonder why their cocoons aren't hatching. Well, that's why. So those crazy worms, Alabama jumpers, yeah, you drop them and they go like this, and I can't do that. That freaks me out. Plus, oh, Another worm that freaks me out is, and if you haven't looked it up, it's called a bloodworm. Have you seen a bloodworm? Yeah, it's a worm that when it gets upset, you hit it or touch it, it has this long beak thing that comes out and has 4 hooks like this, black. Oh my gosh, if that were to bite me, I don't know what I'd do. I'd freak out. Look up bloodworms. They're like, they look prehistoric. They look like these monsters. Ooh, they're crazy. You don't think you have them? Which ones? The crazy worms? You don't have crazy worms up there? Well, here in the United States, they're becoming a problem. There was actually a newspaper article in my local paper here talking about them. And it's actually the first time that I have seen them talking about them. And I've seen them in my garden for years. Yeah, the jumpers, those are they slither. I've seen them in my garden for years. So far, they haven't caused me any problems. They stay by the compost pile. As long as I keep putting things in the pile and keep it moist, they're there. But, you know, they've caused a lot of people problems. I know they have. All right, so let me finish doing this one by hand so I could show you what it's like. So let's say I don't have a Harvey. Let's say I don't have a harvester. I'm starting out. I'm just trying to use what I have. I don't want to invest the money. You just don't. And that's okay. I just put everything here in a pile. Okay. I think you can see. Okay. What I do is, let's say the bin, I get it from the shelf and it's like this. So I take it and I put everything in a pile. And I leave the light on, obviously, let them go down. So what I do is I use both my hands. I don't know why, I find it's just easier. I use this one as kind of like a scoop. I'll go like this and I'll go like this. Or I'll have another container here and I'll just put it there. So since we did some cocoons already here, I'll just keep doing it that way. So here they are. I just go like this and go like that. Just go like this and go like that. So let's say I do this and I have a worm. What I do is I put it here in the corner because eventually I'm going to start getting to them. They're going to come in my hand and I'm going to all congregate them here. That way they're not continuing to spread out. And this is the easiest way I have found. See, look, a worm. There he goes in the corner. This is the easiest way I have found to do this. Plus, it's also this is the most gentlest way because you're not going to hurt the babies. Cocoons are more resilient than you think. I don't sell cocoons, but when I sell my worm starter colony, which I put, I don't think I put it back on sale yet. But anyway, those cocoons, they travel perfect. They're more resilient than what you think. And red wigglers are they're very forgiving. Red wiggler is the best starter worm there is. I don't suggest African night crawlers, especially not African night crawlers. They are very moody and they're great. Once they settle down and they like where they are, they're okay. But my gosh, I started them in my little worm tower upstairs and they gave me a hard time for like a week. They wouldn't. They kept escaping. I kept picking them up. And they did this the entire time. And it was like, oh my gosh. But now they've settled down. They're doing okay. I think I'm just going to bring them back down here and put them in with the woodstock bin, which is the bin that I have 4 species living in, which, you know, I like to do experiments with. And eventually at the end of the season, I'll sell off all those worms because African night crawlers, they're a challenge for me to keep alive through the winter here. Not this winter past, but last winter, I lost quite a few. Due to the weather, you know, we had an ice storm, and that's the thing with you, you guys in Texas, you know. I know you said, Pachamama, you get cold, but How cold do you get? It can't be as cold as here. We've gotten like 10 below zero, 15 below zero. And even though I have the heat on in my house, down here in the basement, it could only keep up so much. So I lost some of my African night crawlers. It was a sad, sad day for me. I was upset actually. So, but I recovered from it, and you know, I just do the best I can. He's a little baby. Now I do take these little babies and I do feed them to my carnivorous plants. I know, I know. My carnivorous plants are all named Morticias. They just are. My daughter Laura, all her plants are named Patricias. But she has regular house plants. I think I did get her a carnivorous plant. I don't know if she's still alive or not, but but anyway, let's see. Pachamama. There's also a worm that has been found that preys on other worms. Oh yeah, the one that's called a hammerhead or something. Oh, Tammy in Canada, 40 below zero. Oh my gosh. That is extreme. Yes, I've seen that. If it's the one you're talking about, the hammerhead worm. It's a worm, but the head of it looks like a hammerhead shark. That thing preys. You know, why did things like that have to exist? That just came straight from hell, that thing. And poor little guys like this don't stand a chance, They just don't. So I'm getting close here. See, I take them and I put them in the corner. So I'm going to show you another trick. Let's say I have this, right? Let's say I have this. And I get an order for 100 worms and I want them fast. Because I ship my worms on Tuesdays, by the way. I try to do it only on Tuesdays because it's easier for me since I reset everything on Sunday. It's just Tuesday's my day off and I just do that on Tuesdays. Well, it's, my day off from my job. Yeah, the hammerhead worm. Ooh. Let's just say I want worms really fast and I got an order to fill. So what I'll do is I'll take something like this, and this is the flip trick, and you go like this underneath and you just flip it. So now I'll take that little mountain, because remember, worms go down when they see light. So now I'll take this little mountain and I'll start counting 100 worms and I'll fill my order. I learned that from a worm farmer years ago, and it was like the best trick he ever taught me. So he's like, why don't you just flip them? They go down. And I'm like, duh, V, why didn't I ever think of that? So I know. So I'm going to show you a tool that I've used when my hands were all fricked up. And this tool is actually made for bread baking. And there's a lot of people, when I saw me using it, they're like, oh my gosh, because I think they come from Scotland or something, which I would love to visit. Anyway, these are called spurtles, and they're made to work with dough. And I have a bunch of them. Look at this one's big. And I absolutely love them. And I have some that I keep in my kitchen for cooking purposes. But what I love about this is when my hands were messed up and my thumbs didn't work, I just grabbed it like this. And then I went over to my worms and it would help me flip them over. So these are spurtles. I'm thinking of bringing them back to the website. How do you know? I don't know. What do you think, guys? Would you want a spurtle? But, and I don't know if it's going to work, okay? I did have a guy make me a wood burning stamp. It's custom made, and it has a worm on it, and it has Garden and Worm Lady, like G with the thing, WL. So I haven't used it, like I haven't burned anything on this. I have played with wood burners before. I mean, what haven't I done, you know? So I would love to put my stamp on this and sell these. So I don't know. What do you think? You think you would like something like this? What's my preferred sifting method? Honestly, I like doing it by hand. I don't know. I'm just well, I'm a mama. I like being hands-on with them. I like the therapeutic feel of feeling them and just, you know, it just becomes like a routine. I watch my shows or I listen to an audiobook and I, I just go like that. I do like my little wooden sifter. I do, and it comes in handy, sometimes, but sometimes you just got to feel your stuff, feel your product. And it also gives me a good chance to see if I have any problems, Sometimes I'm afraid if I'll sift that, I'll go so fast and I'll miss something. And if you ever had a problem with your worm bins, which it will happen, trust me, you want to catch it right away and you want to do whatever you have to do to save those worms. And yeah, it it happens. It just does. It's what was it, last year? I had to do I've had to do a worm rescue in this wormery twice. And one time I ordered worms from someone to restock one of my bins, and they arrived kind of weird. They were kind of, I guess you could call them sickly. So I took action and I had to do what I had to do to rescue them, and that was another ordeal. Another thing I did was, it was my fault. One of my bins, for some reason, I prepared them all the same. One of my bins went anaerobic. I don't know why, what happened, but I had to take action. And let me, if you ever smell an anaerobic worm bin, it takes your breath away. I had to walk away several times. I was gagging. I was like, oh, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to be strong. I just take a deep breath and go back in there. And I had to do it. And by the time I was done with this, I was grossed out, exhausted. I had to take a second shower. So the point of that story is, it's better to just stay on top of it so you can avoid something like that than to have to deal with it. One bin, okay, but can you imagine if that happened to my entire wall here? Like everything. Can you imagine if it happened to all of, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know. I'd have to drink a glass of wine and just, I'd have to figure it out. So these are the reasons I do some of these videos, is so that if it ever happens to you, you're not having to figure it out. You would have learned by me what to do and to do it fast. Because if worms die on me, then I have no business, That's just a fact. Let's see, I got any questions here? You like doing it by hand too? Yeah. Plus, you know what, guys? When the castings or when the bedding dries out a little bit, it feels fluffy, which is almost like, it's almost like playing with like a cotton ball. And I don't know, I like it. Plus, worm castings, they have no odor. As long as they're not anaerobic, they don't smell. So you're not smelling anything bad. When people ask me, like castings are worm poop, oh, does it smell? That's the first thing I get. No, it doesn't smell. If this smelled like poop, there's no way on planet Earth I would have it inside my house. And with that, I don't even know if I'd play with it. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not that kind of girl. So I'm going to let these worms go down again, since I showed you the flip trick. But try the flip trick. It's interesting. And it's fun to do. So look at the yellow tail of a red wiggler. Hopefully it'll see it. Asenia fatida. Yes, any breeder bin that you do, they like it extra wet. And we're talking more than, like you've heard me say, and you've heard other people say, when you set up a regular worm bin, it needs to be like a wrung out sponge. No, not for breeder bins. Breeders, they like it very wet. That's the reason I put bubble wrap on the surface, is because I don't want the air in here or the heat or the air conditioning or whatever drying it out. Because the wetter it is, they like it for breeding. But you have to be careful because there's that fine line. If you have something that's too wet, covered in plastic like that, even though it does get air, there's chances that you could go anaerobic. And honestly, I think that's what happened to me over here on that one bin. I just did. Do that every 6 months for emergency worm insurance. Yeah. And insurance, could you dry out some castings with about 100 cocoons and 1,000 cocoons? I don't know, I guess. Some people say that if castings dry out, they don't work anymore. I don't think that's true. Only because I have had castings in a bin here for like 2 years now, and I just keep the lid on it and it's pretty dry. And anytime I use it to start plants, I mean, my plants do incredible. So I don't know. I think it goes dormant. And when you wet it, it relivens everything up and it kind of wakes up. So, um, I don't know. I mean, I've bought castings online that's like pure powder and it still works. So, I don't pay much attention to the castings only because of that. I have several containers where I just have a lid on it and that's it. And they do fine. I use my castings. I sell my castings. I give it away to coworkers and friends, It's just an amazing product. They do call it black gold for a reason. So I planned this live ahead of time to hopefully to get more people, because the last time I just spontaneously pressed that button and and I didn't know what was going to happen. You have 700 pounds of castings. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. What are the prices like in Canada? I have no idea. Here, I think I sell it for, I think my price, I have it on there for, I think it's like $15.99 a pound. Not sure. Look out for sales though, because I do have sales occasionally. At the end of the season, like I sell it off. I put a sale on because I want to get rid of it. I also dump a lot in my own garden. Because it's beneficial for my own plants. My garden is a no-till garden. I don't till anything. I did one year and it was a disaster. All I did was spread, weed seeds everywhere. It was horrible. Well, you're welcome, Tammy. Yeah, cocoons are meant to overwinter. Well, yeah, the ones in my garden, my outdoor worm barrel, I believe that the worms appear in the spring, summer, and the fall. When it starts to get cold, those worms out there disappear, and I believe they leave all their cocoons behind. And then in the spring, I start seeing a lot of little babies out there. So yeah, I think they overwinter out there, and then in the spring they hatch. It's an amazing cycle of life that happens. And my worm barrel has been out there for 15 years now. And it's basically, I think you guys have seen it. It's a blue barrel that sits on the ground and it has holes drilled at the bottom of it. And the worms just come and go as they please. And I put everything in there, all their forbidden foods. And by the way, those forbidden foods, guys, I feed my worms onions, garlic. I do give them citrus, but I keep that on the low end. But I do, if I eat an orange, I just toss it in there. My pets upstairs on my other channel, the Composting Worm Lady, yeah, they eat all that. As long as you're not doing it in huge quantities, I think it's okay. So it's a lot of forbidden foods. Well, in my garden, I will tell you, my barrel out there, nothing's forbidden. Even, you've seen me put dead animals out there that I find. They just take care of everything. The bones, the hair, everything disappears. Which I always thought the bones would be left behind, but no, there are no bones out there. So, the cycle of life. So when I do this, with my breeders, if I don't get every single piece of casting or bedding or whatever's in here, sometimes I leave a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. I'm seeing a lot of cocoons. Remember, this isn't about, perfection. But I do leave some sometimes. So how many of you are raising worms for sale? A $5 bucket for $55 where's that, in Canada? Feeding them raw chicken and they ate the whole thing. Yeah, Gitano, oh, he's adventurous. I've talked to him. I've done business with Gitano. I've talked to him on the phone because he's in the Northeast, New York, and I'm from New Jersey. But yeah, I've helped him a lot. I've suggested a lot of things to him, and he's taken my advice, and he bought the same grinder I got, and I know that he loves it and he uses it quite often. Raw chicken, though, I wouldn't do that in here because I'd be afraid that I would get some kind of major problem in here. But, out there in my worm barrel, I mean, what was it? 2 or 3 videos ago, I found some kind of dead animal out there with some kind of fur. I don't know what it was. And we put it in the worm barrel and it's gone. So. Hey, Pachamama, does your wife help you with the worms at all? Like my husband, if I asked him to help me with this, he would. But this is kind of like my part of it. I like doing this part. He helps me with a lot of the building things and, like all these supplies here, he carried them all for me and set them up for me. That way it's just easier for me to just grab and do, So, bye, Tammy. Take care. Thank you for coming. And if there's anyone new here and wants to support my channel, there's that little button down there that we recently discovered. Oh, and your daughters do too? Oh, thank God. I have 4 kids, and we have 2 grown sons, but they're 32 years old. They're married, and I have grandchildren, and I have 2 daughters. So all of my kids grew up around worms, especially my youngest one because she was born into it. And my oldest daughter, she won't touch the worms. She won't have anything to do with them. She doesn't like them. They freak her out. One time, though, I asked her to help me harvest, and she did it, and it was the funniest thing. She was freaking out, screaming. But my youngest, I think you guys have seen her in the videos. Her name is Izzy. Yeah, she jumps right in head first, doesn't care where the worms, hands. This is the girl that would walk in my garden and pull a carrot and go like this and start eating it. So that's why I got into worm farming and worm castings, because I wouldn't dare spray anything because I was afraid she's going to eat it. So, and has never been afraid of worms or anything and knows how to do everything with them. So I know one day when she has her own like house, she'll compost with worms and she'll know exactly what to do. The other one, I think the other one will rely on me to give her castings and Izzy to give her castings for her houseplants. Now, this is taking me longer than normal because I'm with you guys and I'm, talking a lot, enjoying the process. But normally I've already been done with this. Where's my water bottle? My water cup. It's allergy season here and oh my gosh, I'm not the only one suffering. So people have asked me if I have snail mail, like you want to mail me something. Yes, I do. It's the Garden and Worm Lady, and it's P.O. Box 101, Crandall, Indiana, and the zip is 47114. I've had people send me t-shirts, thank you cards, letters. I just love it. It's so sweet of you all. Let's see, I got a question. How many pounds of castings do you sell a week or a month? What average amount can one expect? Thank you. I don't really know. I don't sell a lot of castings. Actually, lately I haven't had any sales. As far as the amount, it all depends on your worm, like amount, how many you have, how many, um, obviously if I harvest this entire thing, I'll get a lot of castings. So it all depends on how much you got, you know. If you sell your worms, your castings, you have to also decide whether you're going to sell pure castings or you're going to mix it with something else, you know. Um, I'll just tell you guys, please be honest with people always, you know, because I've seen people out there who sell castings and they say they're pure, but they're not. They mix them in with some other filler and they sell it as pure and it's just wrong. And they do that to make it stretch. So, and it's okay to put a filler in your castings. Like you can sell castings mixed with peat moss. You know, it'll be a part of a, like a bedding, like a supplement for plants. And that's okay. Just, you know, be honest. And for me personally, I don't mix anything with my castings because I don't have the need to stretch it. I have so much. It's like, why would I ever do that? But it is a product and some people do that. Yes, there is a food that I do find them that they give more cocoons. Wet food. I noticed that when I set up a breeder bin, if I want them to reproduce a lot, I keep that bin very, very wet at about 80% moisture, and I feed them the first 5 days. I feed them a wet food. It can be, um, you can take your worm chow and wet it and make it like a paste. It can be jar baby food, like sweet potato. You can take a sweet potato, boil it really well, make it like a mashed potato, put a teeny bit of molasses in there, whether it's dry or the wet kind, and wet it down and make it like kind of like a puree. That would be the word. And then you take your bin and you pour it down the middle. You do that for the first 5 days. They go crazy. They come to the middle and it's like an explosion occurs. And it's because worms, they love sweet things. They love sweet potatoes. They love watermelon. They love anything that's sweet, they love. And that's what they go for. Sweet potato has been one of the things that I've seen them go for the most. The second thing that I have done with wet food is pumpkin. Canned pumpkin. As a matter of fact, I have a can up there. If you take that canned pumpkin and you mix a little bit of molasses in it and you wet it down, make it a puree, and you pour it down the middle, yeah, they go crazy. I'll probably do that in the fall as an experiment for one of my videos because I'll be able to get those cans a little cheaper. You know, right now the price of food is outrageous here. I don't know about Canada, but here it's like, wow. So, but yeah, that does encourage them to go crazy. Biochar. I know Gaetano uses a lot of biochar. I don't know how to make it. I don't know where to get it. I just have so much going on here that I figure that's enough for me. You're welcome. Take one bin and put worms in it and try an experiment with the wet food and you'll see, you know, you'll see. Sometimes those jar foods that babies eat, if you have a friend that has some that are expired, like she's not going to feed it or he's not going to feed it to the child, you can take the jar and you can use it and you'd be surprised. Bye. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you for coming. Do you guys like these live videos? Tell me down below what you think. And I'm going to end it here. I've been on here 78 minutes. I'm going to end it here. I'm going to finish my wall. And then I'm going to break for lunch. And then I got to work on some kind of dinner for later. So I think ahead. Yeah, Dollar Tree. Dollar Store. The Dollar Store. Yeah, the Dollar Store has a lot of stuff. But I don't know where you are, but here it's $1.25 now. So listen to my babies hatched. What does that mean? Maybe if your babies hear me talking, they'll start hatching. Oh, you're welcome, Pachamama. You need to do the same thing. Set up a location in your barn or wherever it is you have and press that live button and just go for it. You know, that's what I do. And Just be yourself. I always tell people, I'm just myself. Wow, you found 40 babies in your worm bin? Aren't they adorable? They're so little. I love them. Even though I do feel a little guilty when I have to feed one to my carnivorous plants. But my plants have to eat too. So, yeah. So, anyway, guys, take care. And what day is today? Sunday. I don't know if there'll be a video tomorrow. It depends because since I did this today, you know, filming takes time and just doing all that. So don't forget that subscribe button, and please go subscribe to my other worm channel, the Composting Worm Lady. So you could check out all my pet worms. And over there I have Louisiana swamp worms. I have like 4 towers. I just love the towers. Joe gives them to me for gifts. So anyway, guys, thank you for coming. Any other questions, just put them down below. And later on tonight, when I go through all my questions, I'll see them. Thank you for the super chat. And I'll see you all next time. Take care.